Sorry, this is Josh, Ray, and Rachel. Do any of you know any of these fine people? No? Well, you're about to know them. They are the best at telling us who they are, what they do, and all those good things. So I'm going to have you introduce yourself, and then I'm going to have you tell everyone where they can find you online. So, like, I know all of you share what you do every single day, and I want them to be able to follow along in the future. So we'll start with you.
Hey everybody, my name is Ray. I'm from Arkansas. And you can find me at Ray Zorback. Just go to Instagram, RayZorback. That's probably the best place to connect with me. And yeah, I'm a real estate agent.
Fantastic. How long have you been a real estate agent?
Since '07.
So forever.
I have those roots, yeah.
That was a fun year. Right? All right, Rachel.
Hi friends, good morning. My name is Rachel Adams-Lee. I am from Northern California, like El Dorado Hills, Sacramento area. I've been in real estate since 2012. I started my business door knocking 200 doors a week and doing 3 open houses a week. I didn't sell any homes for the first 4 months, but sold 39 the first year, then 109, then 123. Last year we had 131 referrals come through social media, so that's like my jam, that's what I do. I teach realtors how to build a business on social. And I've got 3 kids, 3 boys, Henry, Harrison, and Hayden, and they're all under 4. Ooh. So let's do that.
3 boys.
I'm wearing Spanx. I'm sure that you could guess that, but after 3 kids, you just gotta like suck it in.
You're looking good. Thing on.
All right, Josh.
So I'm Josh Ramirez. I am out of Santa Barbara. Yay, Santa Barbara. And I'm with the Aaron Kerman group. Does anybody know Aaron Kerman? He is a titan. He's incredible. And we were all at Compass, and we are now spearheading Christie's AKG. And Aaron Kerman and group are based out of Beverly Hills. And I have the honor of spearheading a presence in Santa Barbara, Montecito. I have been in real estate since 2006, started off as an assistant, and now just, full throttle and loving it. This business will give you gray hair or no hair. So I have gray hair and hoping it stays put. So yeah, I'm doing that.
Fantastic. So I know the wonderful people at CAR would never have invited the 3 of you up here, unless you're like the authorities on AI when it comes to real estate specifically. So I'm excited to jump in. I'm excited to be your voice while we're up here, but that's boring. So at the end, I think we're gonna have time for some Q&A. I'll jump off stage and run around and find you at the last 15 minutes or so. We have time. But like most people, we're on the ground, we're selling real estate, we're worried about compliance, contracts, and most of all, just prospecting, getting business. So taking time to un-ADD our mind long enough to figure out how can this help us is why we're here, so you can tell us. So, Maria, I'm going to start with you. Talk to me, and all 3 of you. The question is going to be, how do you use AI in your business? And we'll start there, and we'll kind of break it down as we go over the next 30 minutes.
So to be honest, I could make a shorter list of how I don't use AI in my business because it's become something that I use all day, every day. And it kind of sounds crazy, but it is essentially my personal assistant. So I use it when I'm developing SOPs, standard operating procedures for the team. When there is something I'm curious about that I want to take a very fast, 5-minute deep dive into a topic or something that I saw or an idea that I had, it just is a nice little placeholder for me to say, tell me what you know about this, and then boom, I get that information. I can kind of think longer on it, come back to it. I use it in content creation. I use it for meal planning.
Let me ask you this, because I think a lot of people, and if I didn't have a daughter in high school, I probably wouldn't be as obsessed with researching Elliot did. So I was like, how is she going to cheat? How can I know? How can I make sure she's cheating smart? I'll explain that in a little bit, because there are kids who are not cheating smart. They will copy and paste direct, and it's like, sorry, I'm judging, but I can't really tell you. They get so talk to me specifically, let's really, I don't want to say dumb it down, but a lot of us do not have time to figure this out on our own. What are you using? Where do they find it? How do they do it?
So the number one thing I'm using is ChatGPT. That's probably the most popular version. I have found by using it more often, it's getting better and better. I pay for it. There's 2 versions. There's a non-paid tier and there's a paid tier. The paid tier I think is like $20 a month, but so much worth it. It's well worth it. Now I would say if you're coming to the workshop this afternoon, download ChatGPT before you get there, because most of what we're going to be doing and going through is using ChatGPT. I mean, to get real technical, I also use like Reimagine. That's the thing that can take your real estate photo and then imagine what it would be like. So sometimes you have buyers that can't get past the green shed carpet, and it's great to say, well, this is what that room could look like if you want to do what you want to it. I also use Midjourney, which is an image, it creates images basically. And I have a podcast that I do every Wednesday all about the real estate news. And so I use that to create thumbnails for the podcast. I mean, there's a bunch.
That's fantastic. Okay, I'm excited to dive into that. All right, Rachel.
Yes. Okay, so I feel like I'm the super simple realtor using AI because it's very overwhelming to me. So like those two other things you talked about, I was like, I'm gonna ask you after to tell me what they are again because I've never used them. I only use ChatGPT, and I use the paid version. So for me, a lot of how I build my business is through social media. And so when I'm doing Reels, which is the number one thing the algorithm favors above all else right now, so when you're scrolling on social media, do you guys know how long you have to stop the scroll? How many seconds? Say it. 2 seconds. You have 2 seconds. Think about how quick you go boom, 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 boom. So when you are scrolling on social media, you want to have a really powerful hook, which is the words on the screen for the first 2 seconds, and literally you hold it on the screen for 2 seconds when they're scrolling. And so the hook is like it's a quick little statement, usually 5 words or less, to grab someone's attention. If you go to my Instagram and you click on the reels, you'll see hook after hook after hook. My goal is to get you to stop doing what you're doing and see what's gonna grab you to help you build your business, right? Or what my clients need or my sellers need to know how much their house is worth in a specific neighborhood. So what's cool about ChatGPT for the social media space is you can say like, I'm making a post about this, give me a hook in 5 words or less. I will tell you the number one magic thing you can do with ChatGPT, whether it's good, like with AI, in my opinion, whether you're going to be successful or not, is in the power of your prompt. Your prompt is what you write in AI, like what you write in the little spot you have to write. And my favorite thing to say after it gives me a prompt is like, tell me more about that. Because you can be super successful with AI if you use it as an assistant to your business and not a replacement in your business. Because you can tell, like, if you guys hear me talk in real life, it's the exact same way I talk on social. Like, I'm ridiculous, I'm running all over the place, I have dry shampoo in my hair, like, this is life. We also sell a bunch of houses, right? But like, if I just went in ChatGPT and said, like, write me a social media post about being a busy mom, it would be like very it would not be the way I communicate. So I think that it can be such a cool tool if you use it to help you as an assistant, but then you break the whole thing down and then use your personality in it. So I use it for social media. One cool thing that I just learned about is, so I went to see Sarah Blakely speak. She's the founder of Spanx. I just talked about it, but I have a big girl crush on her. She's like the first self-made woman billionaire. I think that's really cool. And I took a bunch of notes. And I always believe in paying it forward to agents and like adding value. So I said, hey agents, or hey anyone, if you want a copy of my notes, leave your email below. And we had 191 people comment. And usually I would have my VA go in and copy and paste one by one by one and put it in an Excel spreadsheet. I literally was able to go into ChatGPT, copy the whole thing, like all the names, all the emails, and I asked ChatGPT to extract the emails for me. And it took like 10 seconds. You'll see, there's a reel on it. You'll see it on Instagram. Boom. Like,
wow, that's, yeah. I feel so silly. I feel we've been asking you history questions. So that makes me happy. Okay, we're gonna dive way into all that. So I know you guys are writing down questions too. So don't forget that. Don't forget. There's a lot of information. All right, it's your turn.
So, who likes coffee?
Me.
I love coffee. I can drink it all day and too much. So the way I look at ChatGPT is you're having coffee with this crazy, insanely gifted, smart thing. Not a person, so like Einstein, right, but like 2.0, 1,000%. So that's kind of how I see it, is like, where do we start, how do I do this? And I think if we look at it as a dialogue with this crazy, smart person, it helps you take that first step. Because there's so much fear behind the creators of this. If you've seen any interviews about it, it's like, oh my gosh, the world's gonna end, Terminator, I'll be back, hasta la vista, baby, whatever. We're all scared. And so I think to kind of just like disarm the situation with AI, I think you have to approach it from that, okay, I'm just gonna sit down and dialogue with technology, which feels weird initially. And I remember when I started, I was like, this is weird. Should I say thank you? Should I not say thank you? Should I ask please? You know, because my mom always said to say thank you and please. And so you're having this dialogue with this technology. Now, it's also like having a virtual assistant that is insanely smart, capable, and all of that thing. So, but at the end of the day, it is, you have to vet everything. Just as your assistant would, go through it. Are you going to just blindly post things? So for me, I use it huge on social media. So social media is something that I find myself living in it, and I enjoy it. So I think a part of your business has to be with AI. What do you enjoy about the technology side of things? Because we can't run away from it. Because if you start using AI and you're like, hey, I hate this, I hate social media, I hate all of this, but I love listing descriptions and I love writing about listings and brochures and all of that stuff. So I think the first step is finding what you're passionate about when it comes to technology and how to use this tool. For me, like I said, in social media, I've sold incredible properties off of social media, believe it or not. People say, oh my gosh, it's such a waste. No, I've sold $2 million just a listing off of social media, blind person that I didn't even know. And so if you engage with AI and utilize it as that conversation, then for me, it's really helped me with, because I'm more on the visual side. I love putting all the pieces together from the visual side. But when it comes to content creation, from like, hey, what do I actually use for the content for the post? What's a good lifestyle blog that can connect to this post? So I'm always finding a way to kind of weave it all together as opposed to just like blindly throwing out information. It's got to be organic, because if you just cut and paste, they're going to know it's not you, and they're going to know it's the Terminator coming after you, and they're going to be like, no way, I don't want to engage with that. So,
Josh, let me ask you a question. And when I talked to you guys previously, you said you use it for your newsletters.
Yep.
And I want to dive a little bit into that. And I know we have all different levels in the audience, but for those who don't even have like ChatGPT downloaded on their phone yet, they don't have an account yet, like, we're not upset. Like, look down and go ahead and do it now. It'll be good for the breakout sessions too. You'll understand, I think, more so what we're talking about. But when I started first playing with it, I was speaking at something and I mentioned it, and maybe it's Texas, I don't think so. They were like, you better watch out. Like, it's coming for you. Like, my husband did it, and it told him all about his life for 30 years. And he knows it. It's like, what? Really? So I went home and I was like, write a bio about Katie Koso. And it was literally like, no, like, I can't. Like, I replied back and said, like, there's certain things we don't do. Anyway, scary schmarity. It's like 2023, it is what it is. But I also had a lot of fun saying, write this for me. Wait, write it more in a more matter-of-fact way, with a little bit of wit and some sarcasm. And then it did it again, and it shot it out to me. So I want to know more about like the prompts.
sure.
What is the prompt that you type in to use for your newsletters? What do you do?
Yeah, so for me, it's all, again, it comes back to how you're approaching your business. For me, it's lifestyle. So I'm selling, it's easy to sell, I think, a home. For me, it's when you're moving to Santa Barbara, when you're moving to Montecito, we transitioned our market into a secondary market. So a lot of people are coming into Montecito buying second homes. So they're coming in for the week, for a couple months or whatever. So they need help with engaging with the city and the community. So for me, when I write an e-newsletter, I'm engaging with my audience like, hey, I know that you just moved here. Here's a great restaurant that I just experienced. Here's a photo. And then I engage with ChatGPT. And what's incredible is when you're engaging and having coffee with ChatGPT, it's learning kind of what your tone is. So it's kind of like having a friend. It's like, when you meet a friend, you don't really know them, but then after a minute or two, you're like, okay, we got this. There's a tone in our friendship, right? And so the longer you use, the more engagement that you use with ChatGPT. I think a key word for me with ChatGPT is like, hey, write a blog on this restaurant that just opened that I experienced with my wife, and make it make it so I can generate real estate leads. So I always close with that. How do I engage this not just, hey, it's a pretty cool, fun blog, but how can it generate leads? So then, blog, 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 restaurant, 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 cute picture, whatever. But how do I get that hook? So, Rachel said, how do we get those hooks? You always want to hook people in, and if they start seeing you, hey, he knows everything. And I literally have clients that are moving from out of state saying, hey, what color car should I buy? Because I've never lived in Santa Barbara, I don't know about Montecito, all of these different things. So I'm the go-to person with what type of car you should buy in terms of the color. So because I'm engaging with this lifestyle, not just here's a pretty big house that you bought, my newsletter is all about real estate, any celebrities. People love the dish on celebrities, so I always tie in like, hey, Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher have their Airbnb in Montecito, like if you want to stay there, just kind of fun tidbits. All these little hooks really have worked for me really well. So
that's nice. It's nice that you're using it in that manner, and I think asking the questions. I think some of us get writer's block.
Yeah.
It's like real estate, and we got to do this too. Like, what the heck? But well, for me at least, like it gets me past that initial. Like, how am I going to open this up? How am I going to start to write that? Which is really, really nice.
Yeah.
I have to do it that way. Okay, now I'm going to talk to you about what is one has it ever happened to you where you have used AI in some way and it's just absolutely screwed you over. Like in the beginning, you like pushed something out that was like, oops, that's embarrassing. Or what are your parameters? Like I will never use it for this, or talk to me about that. I'll start with you, right?
Me?
You're like,
Just thinking, what way wouldn't I use ChatGPT?
and also talk to me more so like what you use it for in general. I know scripting and things of that nature, and meal planning. I mean, we're here to like work-life balance too. Like meal planning is pretty amazing.
So over the last couple of weeks, I lost 10 pounds in the ChatGPT meal plan.
Really? Wow. Everybody, like exactly what did you ask them for to create that meal plan?
Yeah, so it was just a test, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna eat it and see what happens. I asked ChatGPT if it knew something about a certain diet I was interested in, and it said it did, and it told me about it. I was like, okay, create a 7-day meal plan following this diet, and I told it, my stats and size and everything. And it did it, and it created it, and then I said, okay, put it in a table, and it put it in a nice table for me. Then I said, add calories and macros at the end, and it did that for me. Then I said, this is the part that a lot of you are gonna go nuts on. Create a grocery list for this meal plan. Created the whole grocery list for me. And then there were a couple of things on there I didn't know how to cook. So I was like, I want the breakfast, lunch, and dinner for day 1. Give me those recipes. So then it had the recipes. So then I just printed that out and followed it for a couple of weeks. And
That's amazing.
it was very clean because I was trying to, it was the diet, right? It was very, it wasn't a ton of extra flavor. But but that's what I picked, right? So you could do it, maybe you're not on a diet at all, but you're just tired of planning your meals. I mean, you're more than welcome to put into it what you want and, end the week with a cake. Like you could do whatever you want with it, but having it plan it for me saved, probably 3-4 hours at least.
That is very cool. I actually tried it with I was paying a trainer. She was worth every penny, but I was also like, I think I can use this to do the same kind of like for whatever my goals may be. And immediately, like every single thing, pause between like sets, weightlifting, all sent to me, which is a shame because we're always worried about different industries that are getting wiped off.
Well, including our own, right? So this is a great point. Your trainer is no longer useful for what is the workout. So now you have to ask the question, why is your trainer useful? For us as real estate agents, I did an experiment where I had a very complicated negotiating scenario. I was just telling you about this. Very complicated negotiating scenario. I put it into ChatGPT. At the same time, I called a real estate agent. He's a friend of mine that I respect. I know he knows his stuff. And I said, okay, here's the scenario. What would you say? I hit enter on ChatGPT. They were side by side, almost identical with their advice. And I told him, just so you know, ChatGPT said the same thing. And he was like, what? What are you talking about? Chat what? And so I read him what ChatGPT said, and he said, so what good are we? If your consumer can go to the robot and figure out how to negotiate the situation, then negotiating is no longer a thing for us. The only difference in the professional real estate agent and ChatGPT was a specific application to a very individual circumstance that was in that story. ChatGPT had generalized around it, where the human said, well, in this specific case, you want to do this, but that was the only difference. So slowly, things like AI are taking things off the list that we think are add value. So we have to find a different approach, even in negotiating. We have to find a different approach in writing about your house, because if a for sale by owner can come up with a beautiful description of their home and what photos to put into what order and where to put it and a marketing scheme, what is the value of the real estate agent? So I guess your question, in what ways has ChatGPT screwed you? That would be the way, is looking at my own value propositions and going, oh, that one's done, that one's done.
Yeah, really having to, gosh, like humanize yourself so people get to know you and your character, I think, more than anything else. And you know who's a superstar of that? Rachel. Rachel is. I have known Rachel and her husband from before she was a mom. So it's been like really beautiful watching, and she shares every little bit, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the absolutely amazing, which I think attracts people to you, your clients to you, in a way that you just can't get unless you're willing to share yourself like that. Not everyone is, but I would love to, are all three in diapers? Well, obviously it's your business.
Yeah, we have a 4-year-old, we have a year and 8-month-old and an 8-month-old.
And she and her husband work together. They're all in the house all day long. And tell me the different businesses that there are, and I want you to talk to me about AI and how it helps you sell real estate, and your other businesses, but how does it help you be a better mom and wife?
So I have my real estate company, so I'm the lead listing agent, I'm still in production. Then I have a real estate coaching company, and then I have a speaking business, and then we have products for realtors to help you grow your business through social media with a weekly video service. And then I also have an anti-aging hair care and skincare company, because I like multiple streams of income and hair matters. And so for me, I create coaching courses, right? So I have like a master class for social media for realtors. We're creating one called this is an example. I'm creating a coaching course called the Coaches Station, and so many people are like, Rachel, I want to create a coaching course. I'm like, okay, so I'm creating a coaching course for people who want to create a coaching course. It's a blueprint. So when I am creating that course, previously I hired a copywriter to help me and someone to design all my workbooks, because I always do workbooks and handouts. So this time, I'm not hiring a course writer. I'm hiring ChatGPT. I'm going to save myself $3,500 in this process of creating this next coaching course, and I'm going to tell them hey, I want to do a 5-email sequence. The first one's going to introduce the product, and I tell them exactly what the product is. And what you have to think when you're doing a prompt to ChatGPT is what your end goal in mind is. So, what is my end goal? And then what question can I ask ChatGPT to get what I want? And if you ask it something and you don't get exactly what you want, you can say, try that again, but take out, so for example, how do I want to do this? Okay, one of my social media posts that I do is, I believe that realtors should have 5 pillars of content, 5 different things that we talk about on social. Only one gets to be real estate. The other 4 are personal. What you're doing, where you're going, what you're reading, what makes you tick, why somebody would hang out with you on the weekends. So I talk about real estate and being an entrepreneur. I talk about being a mom and a wife. I talk about positive body image, because after having 3 kids and the last one being an emergency C-section, my body's changed a lot, and that's a struggle for me, and I know that I'm not alone in that. So it's something that I talk about, come along on my journey of learning to love my body, right? So if I'm doing a post about positive body image, I will say something to the effect of, help me write a post, or I went to the beach with my family and I was uncomfortable to be in a bathing suit on the beach. Help me write a post to empower others so that they're comfortable in their own skin. And I can say, make it funny and inviting. Or I can be make it sarcastic, or I can be make it super dry. Whatever because that's what I feel is kind of cool with ChatGPT is you can put the personality into it. You can also say, write this in the tone of Oprah. My female business girl crush is named Jenna Kutcher, and I will always say write this in the tone of Jenna Kutcher. And so what's cool is like, it really does start to learn your voice and your tone and how you talk about things, so I don't have to say so much now, like write it in the tone up, because it sort of gives me more of what I want. And so I love that. And the other thing is like, you guys, we get so stuck on like how to come up with content. You can literally put in there, like, I mean, you can say, write me 50 blog post ideas as a real estate expert in Sacramento, California, with the goal of getting more buyers and sellers, but adding value to them within the local community. And you know what's gonna pop out? Local pumpkin patch locations, 5 date nights in Sacramento. Like, it is gonna give you literally exactly what you need, and it's like, so then, what I would do is I would sit down with your assistant, if you have one, if not, sit down with yourself, and time block for it. Be like, okay, so each week I'm gonna give myself 2 hours with ChatGPT to come up with my content that I'm gonna do a blog post about, or my content for social media, or whatever it is, and then have it help you, have it help you craft it. If you're like, how to be a better mom, literally Google, or not Google, ChatGPT, it's like the new Google for me. It really is kind of like the new Google. How to be a better mom. Tell me 5 ways to be a better mom when you're a busy working person in real estate. Like, tell it exactly what your goal is. My end goal is this, and then it helps you get that result, and it's game changer.
That's so cool. Like, isn't it mind like who? I'm sorry, if Amazon didn't exist, I would be the crappiest mom of all times. But I am a natural eater without.
Yeah, mine would never eat without like DoorDash and like Amazon Prime delivery.
You need your sunscreen for tomorrow morning. She's like, thanks, mom. Like I did it. I don't do anything. Okay, Josh, talk to me about like AI and advancements. What do you think is coming? What are you excited about as far as advancements go? And you know, just all the things that you want to share when you got excited about this panel.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm excited about is that our role as real estate agents is not going away. I really believe that. I think with a lot of what's going on with AI, again, is fear-based. Oh my gosh, they're coming after us. I don't think our job's obsolete. I really don't. As smart as AI and ChatGPT is, I want to share with one experience that I had with a client, high net worth guy, moved from out of state into Montecito looking for real estate. All of a sudden, he's like, hey, we need to chat. There's a hole in my prenup. And this is a side chat, very private information, and it turned from, and if you've been doing this long enough, you put your real estate hat over here, and then you're a counselor, and then you're an advisor, and then you're a friend. So for the last really few months, I put that real estate hat away, and I put this big, beautiful, because when it happens, it's a really nice sale, over $10 million. But I put that away because I'm like, at the end of the day, what we're doing is human connection. And we can rely on AI, we can rely on ChatGPT, and it's incredible. But AI will never be able to replace friendship and dialogue with private conversations. So there was conversations that I had with my client, who is a friend, that there is no way that ChatGPT could have said, hey, you know what, let me remind you that she loves you. For real, as a friend, and this is why, because you told me about this situation, and so really putting on that camp counselor. So I'm excited to step into the future with a tool and not something that's going to replace me. So I think that really gives me an assurance, because especially in my market, I know without a doubt well, I'm just so certain that there's no way that this tool is going to replace my market, because people always tell me, hey, you know, I got his estimate for $9 million. And I'm like, I wish that was true. I wish it was 15 or 20, but we have to bring it down. And if you follow what happened with Zillow, they were AI, all of this stuff, and buying and selling based on this algorithm, and it went nowhere fast. And they had to repivot and realize, hey, by the way, we need that human connection. That how do you quantify a property? And yes, there's a bunch of sales, but how do you really quantify the feeling that you get when you drive into that neighborhood? How do you quantify, hey, Yes, it's a school district, but there's so much more that, hey, you can walk to this, and there's this feeling behind, hey, I feel safe, hey, I feel like I see this view from a different, so all of those things rely on our expertise, and ChatGPT is just a tool that's really fancy, really fun to engage with, and so that's what I'm excited about. I'm not fearful, I'm not going into the future as a real estate agent with all this fear, like, oh my gosh, they're gonna, take over my job. Now, there are jobs that it's very clear they're gonna get taken over. I won't name them, it's pretty clear, but for our role, and I'll isolate it into my specific market, I cannot imagine, I don't see that day where I'm not gonna get a call from a client, friend, that says, hey, I need help, and yes, you're my real estate agent, but I need, insight on this, that, and the other thing, and all those different market insights, and insight on just life as well. So I'm excited to just use this as a tool. It really helps us just maximize our time. So blogging, hey, like I said, here's some facts, in the Santa Barbara MLS, we always release, and I'm sure you do with your MLS. Here's the facts for the last month. So I grab all of that, hey, here's the facts, my tone, chatty, give me some punchy information for my e-newsletter, and then I got my e-newsletter summary with real estate, and then I'm gonna punch it and condense it down for my Instagram and TikTok or whatever. So it's just a tool that we don't have to be fearful of. Again, we're not going obsolete, I don't think.
Is the paid version called Chatty? Or did you?
No, I just came up with that because it's like, well, you can name it, because it's like, yeah, because you're always engaging with it after a while. You're just like, okay, you're kind of my friend, and I do say thank you. It's just inherent in my mind, and so yeah, I think it's just an amazing tool to really lean on. I don't think we need to fall fully on, because it's got to be, if you just copy and paste, like would you copy and paste everything that your assistant gave you? Hopefully not. And so you've got to kind of just summarize it and make it your own.
You copy and paste it?
No, so I have a niece, and she is 12, and she had a school assignment, and she was telling us she had to do make this, she had to make a poem, but it had to be a hyperbole and a synonym, and there was all these things. And Brian and my husband and I were like, ChatGPT, duh. And her parents were like, shut up. They're like, you're the problem. And I was like, no. And so Brian was like, we were talking about it after, we're like, so you write the poem, and then you say, put a hyperbole in here, and do this, and we're like, man, so it's gonna be really interesting with school. And so we were asking, we have a bunch of friends that are educators, and we were asking them, like, how does this change education? Because college students write me this many character count essay about this, include this, and this. And if you make the changes, it's gonna be real dang hard to get it to prove if it's ChatGPT or not. They were, in the school board, they were saying, this is my local market, they were saying that there's some scanning system that they're coming up with.
I'm telling my daughter too, right?
What scanning system is going to be able to
I found it. There's a few if you Google. I don't know if there's a more legitimate one, but I started doing copy and pasting into things. Maybe you should change a little bit here and there.
There's also AI that now will write past the scanner, but
Well, look at that.
Yeah, it's not going away.
College entrance, essays, admissions. That's the stage of life my daughter's in.
So I have to say,
write everything in person. You're gonna have to
yeah, you're handwritten. Yeah.
See?
So to add to your story about the poem though, so I'm a writer for fun. I like to write, so I wrote a poem, a real short poem, and I put it into ChatGPT and I said, analyze this poem and tell me about it. Tell me what it sounds like and what the author means and all that stuff. And it was my poem, so I know what I meant. It was exactly right. Not only that, I asked it to tell me about the rules that I used, and if I broke any rules and who I was close to. It told me one of my favorite poets that it's very similar to this guy's style, and I was like, whoa, that's cool. Thank you very much. And it also said the rules that I used and the rules that I broke and why I broke those rules. And it was right. There were certain rules that I broke in the poem to create a certain sense of emotion and it was exactly right.
You're a ChatGPT genius.
Well, then I asked it, I asked it, how would you rewrite it to make it better? And ChatGPT rewrote my poem to make it better, and it was terrible. Because ChatGPT will follow the rules. Even though it knows that to get emotion or to get, you can break the rules like this, it doesn't quite understand the human emotion of when to break those rules. So it might break a rule to us, we don't see it, we don't recognize it. It doesn't do the same thing because it's not a human breaking the rule. And it was really interesting at the end, and I showed my wife, I was like, which one do you like better? And she's like, that one, clearly. I'm like, clear. So I was like, yeah, obviously, I like that one too. She was like, this one is just, it's too rhymey, I don't like it. And it was really interesting to hear, you could take that as an example and throw it into listing descriptions, throw it into blog posts or e-newsletters. If you're not going through whatever ChatGPT tells you to write, and then analyzing that and saying, okay, does this really sound like me? Does it sound like a human? And you can upload a lot of your writing, and you upload all the writing, and you would say, write this Instagram post like me, and it will do it, but you still have to check because it doesn't quite know the intricacies of how we communicate.
Right, because you said that, and again, for anybody who's like downloading it right now, wondering what we're talking about, but like feeling like you're getting there, I want you to be completely open to asking all the questions when I come out in the audience. No question is ridiculous, I promise. There are people sitting next to you that are like, oh. So we're all here for that today. You just talked about listing descriptions. I think that is a really good like level 1 for people who are trying to get into it. Now, I also want one of you to tell me like, the difference between the paid version and the free version, but first, specifically, you're talking to someone brand new who's never used it. What do you do to get it to push out your like photo descriptions? Like, can you do that specifically for each photo?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you can't like upload a photo and say describe this
You could
photo.
like link it to like the.
There are some AIs that can basically look at a photo and give you a description of it, but it's going to be as a computer sees it, not necessarily what we see. So it's also not going to be real estate language.
But a broad, like a general listing description.
Yeah. So a listing description, what you would do is just tell it that you're a real estate agent. You could even tell it what market you're in. You can tell it some highlights of the market, just real brief, so that it kind of knows the tone of which to take in there. You can also tell it, if you're a luxury agent or if this is an investment property. So you want to give it context around what you're about to tell it to do. Then you can tell it the stats and facts of the home. 4 bedroom, 2 bathroom, whatever, in this neighborhood, in that neighborhood. It can pull some information about wider known areas. If you have a small neighborhood in the middle of the country, good luck for ChatGPT being able to pull out that they have a pool there, right? But you can tell it, it's a small community neighborhood pool, but you can give it information and then say, I want you to write a listing description, and you can give it additional instruction, but I would recommend first, just say, based on this information, write a listing description that would make someone want to go see the house. So you give the intent, but a couple of notes. I mean, prompts are good. I like prompts, I like knowing what to say, but I think you can also over-index on a prompt and put so much importance on that you get basically writer's block when you're trying to figure out what to ask ChatGPT. So one of the best things you can do for it, and how it was originally created, was a natural language processor, which means that you can start by saying, I don't know where to start. I need a listing description. What information do you need for me to write it? And it will tell you the information that it needs in order to write a listing description for you. Or you can just give it the information you have and say, I'm not really sure what else to do. If you could be weirdly honest with ChatGPT, and it works better than when you're trying to give it as much information as possible and make it fit in a little bitty box. I get the worst results when I give it a ton of information and ask for something extremely specific. If you want very specific, just write it yourself.
That makes sense. Okay, Rachel, I'm gonna get up now, so get ready to raise your hands. But as I get up, I want you to tell me, what made you take the leap over the paid version, and what's the difference between the two?
Oh, I like to spend money. So I heard Realtor is like, this is gonna improve your business. It only costs, $19.97, and I'm like, I'm in. So I heard ChatGPT ChatGPT was good, and so I would have the free version, and then I heard they had a paid version, and I'm like, paid's obviously better. So that's honestly my experience with it. One thing I will tell you that we're doing right now, so you know how you go to real estate conventions like this one, and you're gonna hear 75,000 things, you're like, I wanna do that, I wanna do that, I wanna do that, I wanna do that, and then you have all your really good notes, and you go home, back to your hotel room, and you're like, that was a lot, I need a martini. You have your martini, and then you're like, I'm gonna implement tomorrow on Monday. And then Monday comes, and then life shows up, and you have kids, and you have all the things, and then your stuff gets dusty, and you're like, what was I gonna implement? So, what I would encourage you with ChatGPT is like, all the things you hear today, this is a long day of tech, pick like two things you hear where you're like, that's the one thing that they're talking to me about. I was at a real estate convention in Arizona, I guess, last week, been a long travel one, and I have decided that I really want to implement buyer seminars, seller seminars, and investor seminars. I do a lot with Bigger Pockets, the podcast, and I realize like so many people out there want to learn about it, but they don't know. And so I'm not going to do an in-person one. I'm going to do it virtual. And I'm going to, the reason I'm opening it up to the country is I like referrals from all over the country, right? So realtors around the country, like one of my favorite things to do is get to know realtors because we all can refer business to each other. And so I flew into the wrong airport last night. I was texting Katie, I'm like, dang it. So I had a longer Uber ride than I planned. And because I don't really pay attention to details as much as I should. And I had time, an hour in the car, and so I was using ChatGPT to help me make my game plan for buyer seller seminars, my posts, my everything. So I have an entire class that I'm going to charge for, and for clients and community it was free, but realtors I'm going to charge to like show them the whole system. But I used an assistant to help me do it, and it's like we would normally hire someone, and it would take us weeks to do this, and I did it in an hour-long Uber ride.
I would love to tell everybody, like, you were probably listening to three of them and you're like, wow, they're really amazing, like they're doing all the things. But I think the difference maybe right now, maybe you are too, some of you are like trying to get over that. The only difference is they're like implementing and like taking action, which is very hard to do because we're doing a lot of other things too. But I know Rachel longest. I can already tell from the other two, like she has an idea, she doesn't sit on it.
Yeah.
She it's immediate, even if you don't know how to do it yet, if it's gonna be right, she just does it, and the authenticity like flows through, even when using something like AI. These magical people put a mic stand right there, so I don't have to get any additional steps in. Now, if you're too afraid to actually get up and walk to the mic stand, raise your hand, I don't mind coming to you. Who has a question? Do you want to go to the mic stand? I appreciate you for that. My feet have to last until around 8 p.m. Bye.
I've been dabbling a little bit on ChatGPT. You've been talking about having it to learn your talk, your style. How do you do that? Every time I create a new chat or a new, it seems like it's reverting back to the original. So I don't know if there's a setting that you have to go into to start learning your style so that it can continuously repeat what you want. Thanks.
Yeah, good question. So when you are in ChatGPT, along the left side are all the chats or conversations that you have. And he's right, every time you start a new conversation, it's like a brand new thing. It has no idea what it once was or what you asked for previously. So what I started doing is keeping those chats in a certain context. So for me, I have a bunch of different avenues of business, but if you are a real estate agent and that's all you do all the time, you can actually tell it. If you click on the bottom left, you'll see your little picture. Click on the bottom left, and it has a way where you can put basically, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is the market I work in, this is my team. You give it all that information, and then when you start a new chat, it'll start to answer in context. Now, when you're training it to become you can upload a bunch of text, and you can either just copy paste it, stuff you've written, or you can put it in a PDF and then upload the PDF. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. But basically, you give it the information, and you say, I'm going to give you several samples of my writing, and then I want you to mimic the way I write. And you can even call it, like you can get crazy with it, right? So you can say, when I say respond as Ray, I want you to write it like this. When I say respond as my team, maybe I have a different set of writing for my team member. So there's different things you could do, but basically copy paste. This is who I am. 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 Now, write a blog post.
One conversation.
One conversation, and then the next time you go to ChatGPT, you can name that conversation, responding as ready, right? Whatever you want to name it. Like I have one that's called Pixel Properties is my team name, so I have one that's called the Pixel Agent, and that responds or acts as my team. So when I'm doing standard operating procedures for my team, like I hate writing those. I don't know if any of you love writing SOPs, but it steals my soul. And so for me to be able to say, when someone answers the phone, this is what I want them to say. Write a fancy SOP for it, and it does it. Like this is like life-changing for me. So that's how I use it. Is every time I need an SOP, I go to the Pixel Agent and say, this is what we need an SOP for because this happened today, and then it writes that for you.
You can even use it like if you are writing an email to an agent, you need your offer accepted. Like we have one right now where we have a double contingency. So we have 2 houses we need to sell in order to purchase. I can even go in ChatGPT if I didn't know how to write that and say I have a double contingency and I want to purchase. So here's the 2 addresses of my double contingency and we want to purchase 123 Main Street. Write me a compelling offer to help the agent on the other side understand why they should take our client's offer. Like that's the stuff works.
Again, my daughter's 17. No one's gonna know how to write.
No.
One's gonna know how to do. It's gonna be real
Pointing,
in about 50
pictures.
years. We're the smartest generation. Like we're the last ones. Are we not? Terrible kids. So look at that. Look how smart we are. Let me 1 second. She's up on her feet. Or if you'd like to go over there, that'd be fantastic. You want to introduce yourself too and ask your question?
Sure, I'm Erin Moore. I'm from LA, Douglas Elman. Hi, thank you for coming, by the way. And I do want to, fun fact, my son was writing a paper and I'm just like, use ChatGPT. I'm like a bad mom. And I'm like, it's due tomorrow. And he goes, Mom, somebody got suspended because they checked it. So that's already happened. Cool. Thank you, because that happened. Don't be the bad mom that I was. Mom, you can't cheat. I'm like, oh, don't.
You can't cheat.
I'm like, so, but anyways, I'm not that bad. I don't know. I do have a question. You said some AI does this, some AI does this, and I don't know if I heard it wrong, but you're using ChatGPT. Is there another one besides ChatGPT? You're saying yes. Yeah, so is there a better one? Do we always do that one? So what is your take on that?
Who here uses more than just? You take it away.
So there's a website. I believe it's chatgpte.com. It tracks all the AIs and everything they do. And you can go and look at it and type photos, and you'll see all the ones that edit photos. You can type blog posts and see all the ones that are great at blog posts. Everything is changing so fast that it's almost useless for me to say, I use this tool and that tool, because next week, to be honest, there's a different tool, I'm using that. There's some that are going to become the best. There's some that are going to become the clear Amazons of AI. ChatGPT, I think, is one of those. There are other AIs that will come out with a feature that then get copied by ChatGPT. At first, you couldn't upload stuff to ChatGPT, but Claude.ai you could. So that was great. I used Claude for a little while, and then now you can do it with ChatGPT. I haven't used Claude since. So the best thing you can do, if you want to know about all the AIs, is find basically a summary website. I think it's chatgpte.com. Somebody can maybe check that if you get a number French. But go to that website, find what you're looking for, and then just use it. But don't become a dedicated user that this is all we're using, we're not using anything else. I think right now, especially in the AI space, you have to be pretty fluid, because some will stop working. And if that's the only one you've used for this task, and your team is trying to sell 100 houses this month, and there's this task that you have set up with this AI, but because it's open, it didn't really pay for it, it doesn't work one day, now what? So you also have to kind of have some end arounds and workarounds and understand that the paid versions, you can usually rely on a little bit more, but even then, sometimes they go down. So I would say less important what AIs we use, more important where to find the AIs that you want to use.
I also this is about the time of an hour-long panel when people are like, never mind. Like, I don't want to try it. That's a lot of information. Don't do that. just remember the first like 15 minutes where you're getting like really excited. You're like, this is amazing. It's gonna like make everything different for me. I'm gonna make reels. Keep that vibe, okay? Like we know now there's a bunch of different ones. My head just hit that wall. And I was like,
Yeah.
like just like keep the positivity. Did I answer your question?
Fantastic, thank you so much.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you. All right, next up.
So my name is Usama Kaventa. I'm a board associate with the Experience team. And I've been a high school teacher for 27 years.
No, I didn't know you were here.
I didn't see it. They did it.
I actually use ChatGPT with my students because you see, most of the teachers, they call us boomers, are in the industrial era. So the students that I teach, I tell them, I say, because they're either in credit validation or credit recovery, I said, use ChatGPT, use Google search. I want you to leverage all this technology. But when you submit your paper, I might just ask you an oral question. If you don't understand what you wrote,
Good.
Yeah.
that's some tips that you could tell your kids or your grandkids that they better relearn what they didn't learn and read those responses. But my question was on those double contingencies. Could you say, give me 3 versions of it?
Yeah, you could say like, give me 3 different scenarios for this. Remember your end goal you want in mind. You could absolutely say, give me 3 different possible scenarios for a double contingency of how this could work or how an offer could get accepted. Because, you know, like with ours, we had one in contract and the other one wasn't in contract. And so you need sometimes some creativity and, you know, unless you have, you know, a broker that's always in the office, but I mean, I don't know how many people go in the office 5 days a week anymore. I sure don't. It's like you want to have that assistant at your fingertips. So absolutely, the more you can dig in, the better question. Like that's really where it's going to give you your answer. And if you ask it something and you don't get the answer you want, dig a little deeper, but pretend that you're sitting down talking to a friend. That's where I found like my success is like normal human dialogue. Not like, hello AI, please tell me if, like, you wouldn't talk like that to a normal person. I'd be like, hey, I need to write an email. I've got a double contingency. I'd like to have 3 options of how I can get this offer accepted on the other side. Please give me 3 possible scenarios and solutions, and it'll pop it out for you. And then it's gonna say it in a language you might not necessarily say it, so then you just go back through and you filter it and kind of like pull the things out. And like, I mean, one of the things that you were talking about is like, you know, Ray was talking about like the table. Like, I will sometimes say write it in bullet points. Like, if there's something like, because it sometimes will just spit out a bunch of information, and I don't know if this works for you, but when I see a bunch of words, I'm like, I need it like bullet points, I need numbers, I need a table. Like, that's where I need a grocery list. That's gonna be my next reel, I'm not kidding. I was literally thinking when I leave here, I'm gonna do it in the hallway. But if I want to lose 10 pounds of ChatGPT, it's gonna be up today. I'm gonna talk about it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't lost the 10 pounds, but he did.
One more question. So is there a particular ChatGPT paid version that's specifically targeted for real estate, or are they just, because there's so many different ones that are on the App Store, so I wasn't sure if they all were the
It's the
same.
one that they trick you. It says the special little logo. Like,